from Connections Academy to start talking about that. So let me see how to. So I am bringing on a representative of Connections Academy to do
Hi,
this Instagram
Nathan.
Live. Hello, how are you?
Okay, you can hear me. Good. I'm
Yes, I
doing
can hear you.
great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm doing well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you have a super busy schedule. So, I actually have some questions here, a lot of questions
Perfect.
actually. So, hopefully, we can get through
Awesome.
it all. And
Perfect.
then we also asked some of those who follow the Connections Academy account if they had any questions as well. So, I have some
Okay.
fun ones that maybe we could
Perfect.
end with.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's just kick it off. I want to know, how do you describe Connections Academy? If somebody were new to it and just asked you, what is Connections Academy? What would you say to them?
Right. So Connections Academy is an online school platform for K to 12, and it's basically high school but online. I started when I was in 10th grade, um, and that was the first time I ever even heard of really doing online school or even considered doing online school, and that was really a result of because of training situation. All done by teachers, so it was a very quick and easy conversion into online school, and it's really similar to public school.
That's really good to hear because I'm sure there are some students out there who are wondering whether they're in, fifth grade or if they're in 10th grade like you were, wondering what would the transition be. So I think it's nice for me to hear it, but also for others to hear that you were able to kind of seamlessly do that.
Right.
What made you choose Connections Academy?
Mm. So kind of continuing what I was saying, I trained at a location in California called Lake Arrowhead. And sadly, a couple of years back, the rink closed there, and it
Oh,
required that I move to a different rink within California with my coach. And we hopped around to a couple different rinks, and the rink that stuck only had sessions in the morning, and I believe ice time ended around 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. And of course, that's exactly when public school is. And that point in time, like I had already put so much into skating, and that was such a big part of my life that I didn't want to just put that aside and be like, I'm done with skating. I'll continue with schooling. But at the same time, education to me and my family is extremely important, and I wanted to put myself in the best position to go to college to do things outside of skating. Because inevitably one day I will have to retire from skating, and I needed
hmm.
something that will help me transition into the second part of my life, and I figured, education is the only or the most direct way in order to do that,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And so Connections Academy was right there for me. It gave me the opportunity to be able to still go to public school while, and of course finances were kind of an issue for me as well. So the fact that Connections Academy was free, public school almost exactly like I was used to, it was just perfect, and it allowed me to just do connections, or it allowed me to do my school whenever I had time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I hear students, for those of you who don't know, I work for Connections Academy. I think I probably should have said that when I first maybe how that differed from your teachers.
Right. So again, as I was expecting, I thought that my mom would have to be able to like start learning the material and start teaching me. And I was glad to know that there were teachers who were, professionals in each individual subject that would be arranging all the curriculum and making sure that, they arranged all the learning material for whatever time it was or whatever class I was taking. And my mom was basically there as a support system to make sure that I was following my deadlines, to make sure that I was communicating with my teachers, and any sort of
Is there like a system? Could you talk a little bit about a system that
Right.
exist, or just kind of how you kept track of those?
hmm so Connections Academy was actually like an awesome sort of start to learn how to organize my schooling, especially since once you go to college, you have to do all of that yourself. And of course, there's the deadlines for when things are due and when exams are, but you have to like block the time and figure out how much time you need to study and all of that. And to college because
Yeah.
then I could like write down all the things that I needed to do, and put down like just rough estimate times that I needed to complete each assignment, or when exams were, so when I needed to start studying, and all of those different things. And so
Hmm.
that was sort of the method through Connections. And of course, when I was a Connection student, my mom would know these deadlines, know when the exams were, and made sure that I was, staying on top of it. And depending on how many assignments were due that day, make sure that you finish X number of them at least, to move on. And over the weekends, if you have a little bit overdue because things sort of built up during the week,
Right.
find time
Yeah.
to fill those in.
Um, Somebody had just asked a question. There's a lot of comments in here, so I appreciate everyone who's commenting, and I was able to catch one of them. Someone asked about homework. Can you talk a little bit about homework?
At the end of each module, so the module would go through either a new subject or a new topic, or a continuation of topics that you were previously learning about. And at the end of each module, there would be sort of like a quick check to sort of recap some of the stuff that was discussed earlier in the lesson. And I believe most of my classes had the same sort of quick check. And it's usually about 5 or 6
Mm-hmm.
questions, just to like make sure that you were engaged with the material. And then on top of that, depending on the class, like maybe if it was math or if it was science or if it was, I remember I took Chinese through Connections, and so we would
Oh,
have like
cool.
take home where I'd have to like write down characters, or with math I would have to finish off like a homework set. And then if it's like an English writing class, then you would have to like write papers or do edits throughout the semester. So that's basically how homework runs, and of course it'll differ depending on the class. But the general overview is that there will be, a couple questions at the end of each
Mm-hmm.
module, and then cumulative homework assignments throughout the semester.
Yeah, and I'm sure your teachers and your mom probably help to keep you on track in the system that exists, so it's not, because it kind of
Right,
sound, it probably could sound a little bit overwhelming to someone who hears all of that, but
right.
it
But
sounds
yeah, the
very
semester is
similar.
long, and the semester is quite long, and the homework assignments, although they are challenging, they're not, something that's like extremely overwhelming. You can, like for instance, with my skating, it's not like every day at the end of training.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. I was able to see a couple of things as they were coming by too.
Okay,
So anybody who's asking who I am not a school counselor. I work for Connections Academy. I help to do a lot of stuff actually with their social media. Somebody had also just asked kind of like your connection to Connections Academy. So I just want to address that real quick. Nathan graduated from one of our Connections Academy schools, and you attended there, right? 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, right?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just in case anyone is asking, we'll level set that. One of the questions that we get a lot on social media is about socialization, whether that's a student asking us or a parent who's a little bit concerned about, their student making that transition and not being able to socialize with someone. So could you talk a little bit about what that was like for you, and maybe what kind of happened or
Mhm.
existed in terms of socialization with your school?
Right. So socialization, for me personally, was mostly done at the rink. Since I'd spend the majority of my time at the rink, and then afterwards I would just go home with my parents to, just to do the rest of my day. And so generally most of the socialization that I did was through skating. However, that being said, had I not needed to spend so much time at the rink, I know that Connections offers a lot of clubs and activities,
Mm-hmm.
and those are, opportunities in case a student wants to socialize or spend time with other people or just meet other classmates. That's a direct approach. And I know that there are also, more traditional high school events like prom and whatnot that Connections does sort of host.
Yeah.
So that's another opportunity to meet some of your classmates.
Hmm.
And then beyond that, of course, I believe there was some testing event that I had to do at the end of the year as well that I met a couple of my classmates there.
Hmm.
So there's always opportunities throughout that you can meet people, and this obviously is coming from myself and not from Connections, but I think that the majority of people that ends up going to Connections will be because they have some commitment outside of school that restricts them a little bit from going to traditional public school. And so I think that for those people, of course, socialization will occur there. But that being
Yeah.
said, Connections does have opportunities
Yeah.
for you to socialize if you want to branch out outside of your whatever it is that your passion is.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, we hope not.
Yeah.
What tips would you give someone who's new to online school and just coming into it for the first time?
Apologies, my phone stopped out for a second.
Uh,
Um,
oh, did you hear me?
so I would just basically, yeah, sorry, my connection seemed to cut out for a second. Anyway,
It's
so
okay.
basically, I think the only thing is to make sure that you have a support team around you, whether it be, well, whoever your learning coach is. For me, it was my mom, but to have people like that, to basically, in case you need someone to sort of fall back on, and of course, the teachers are always there at your disposal. I think that really helped. Plus, also with Connections, timestamps, that helps a lot too to make sure that you're staying as close to track as you can.
Yeah. Somebody just asked in the comments, are there discussion boards or a place where you can kind of go office hours that might exist or just a way for you to be able to connect with your teachers if you need to?
Most teachers are basically almost available 24/7 in case you need to send them an email. A lot of teachers, I remember, will actually give out their number in case you need to give them a call or a text.
Awesome. That's good to know. I guess kind of what tips would you give someone who was nervous about making the decision to move to full online virtual school?
Right. I think it is quite a transition, as you might imagine it. But that being said, the layout is going to be quite similar to what you would imagine public school is, and I think that the learning experience is actually quite fun and interactive. And I don't think there's too much to be afraid of. I think that it does give you the opportunity to have to be able to apply competitively for elite colleges. It gives you, a great learning atmosphere, teaches you all the material you need to know. So I think it's a great place to be. Definitely learning how to manage time was a key point that I think I picked up through Connections. And another thing that I find is sort of an overlap between the two, because of because the platform is online and you don't get to see your teachers, your professors, or teachers in person often. It is almost might not be able to access the teacher or the professor on a day-to-day basis. And the material is given to you. You have to jot down all the notes that you need. And homework assignments are constantly being doled out. So being able to stay on track with the homework assignments and also sort of figuring out how it is for you to personally digest the information, whatever learning method is best for you, whether it's listening or that definitely helps me a lot, especially when it comes to school or skating. If something is, if I'm struggling on like a homework assignment or an element on the ice, it's always better for me to be able to take a step back, relax a little bit, sort of do something else to preoccupy my mind or my energy, and then once I'm refreshed, attack it again. And usually I have a much better chance at doing
Or your favorite class?
um, it's a good question. Actually, I would say, I mean, I don't know. I'd say I'm definitely more of like a math person, so I think I enjoy those classes more, and that's like what I'm studying in college too. So
Yeah.
that's my final answer.
Oh, very cool. What are you studying in college? Math?
Statistics and data science.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Is that
Um, TBD.
TV?
Still, to be figured out, but
I mean,
that's where I'm going right now.
you're young. There's still a lot of time to decide.
Thanks.
It could change.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about online school was what somebody in our community wanted to know.
hmm I think just having to take full responsibility of your deadlines. Of course, as I was saying, I had my learning coach and I had other people making sure they reminded me. But at the end of the day, whether or not you do the assignments is on you. And of course, that's the same for public school. But you don't necessarily have that same sort of like, oh, like I'm gonna just like work with my friend on this assignment. We can just do the same thing together. It's like more like a little bit. You have to take a little bit more responsibility. But I think that's not necessarily a bad thing because once you're in college, of course, you can work with your friends, but to understand the material and make sure that you can test well, that's all your responsibility. And I think that's probably how I would approach that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I guess kind of the last Connections Academy or school question I have is
Mm-hmm.
what was your most memorable moment? And that actually comes from somebody here in the comments.
My most memorable moment. I mean, as a reference to my like skating career, or
Let's go with connections. Let's go with school first because
okay, okay,
I have some good skating questions for you.
got you. Okay, okay. Um, I mean, of course, being accepted into like my dream college through connections,
Yeah.
having the opportunity to continue my education without, without sacrificing either my skating or my schooling was huge. And I've always knew that I wanted to go to college since I was a kid, and I was really just thrilled that connections gave me that opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have some fun questions for you. So,
Okay.
an inspirational question. So,
Okay.
outside of skating, what is one thing that you want to achieve this year?
Wait, sorry, did you say outside of skating or inside of skating?
Yes. Outside of skating,
Outside
what's
of
one
skating.
thing? Yes.
Okay, outside of skating. That's a good question, actually. Um, it's really, I mean, a lot of like the things that I would like to do are highly dependent on the COVID climate. I was hoping right now I'm taking a little bit of time to just focus on my skating since
True.
things are transitioning into a little bit differently than I was expecting over at school. And I think that now I have it's maybe a year and a half or so until the Olympics, and so I figured now would be a good time to sort of transition a little bit more and focus a little bit more on skating. But that also being said, I was hoping to do a little bit of volunteering and other opportunities like that. But given the climate, we'll see how that will shape up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you deal with nerves is what someone wants to know.
Um, when it comes to skating, I guess any performance really, I just try to, I know this sounds cliche, but really to enjoy the moment that you're there.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like this is especially when I'm performing, when I'm skating, to know that these opportunities are not given to everyone, and so to really embrace that and enjoy the fact that I'm there and how cool it is that I'm able to perform for whoever's there, and to be able to do the thing that I love so much, for a bunch of other people. And I think that helps me frame my mind in a way that puts aside, oh, maybe I'll make these mistakes, and more so like, oh, this is how I'm going to try to perform and enjoy myself out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, here's a silly one. Are you a dog or a cat person?
um, Cats have their benefits, but I'm definitely more of a dog person.
Do you have a dog
I
or
don't. I would love a dog, but
yeah,
I am definitely more of a dog person, though.
yeah. Awesome. Okay, this is so weird, but I thought, you know what? I'm gonna grab that question and ask it. Who cuts your hair?
um, while I'm home, my mom usually cuts my hair.
What?
Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, but of course, when I'm away, I just have to find whoever is close by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question for you is, in your opinion, what is your greatest achievement?
Um, I think just, I mean, of course, I'm really, really happy about the way that my skating career has shaped up. But that's like largely as a result of the friends and family that I have. And I think that I know this is again kind of cliche, but I
It's
think my
okay.
greatest achievement is just being able to uh, have such a supportive, group of friends and family, and be able to be a part of an amazing, group of skaters who support each other, who continue to push each other. And I think that having, guidance from skaters of the past that I've trained with has helped me sort of understand how to continue being a good teammate to everyone else at my rink, and surrounding skating community. And I think just being able to you know have the opportunity. So I guess it's not really an achievement, but
Hey, it's
I'm just
all.
thrilled to be able to have whatever opportunities that I have, and
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it
I'm
all
happy
it
to be
all
here.
adds up.
Yeah.
Before we close out, I wanted to know, is there anything else that you want someone to know about Connections Academy, your experience, just anything else that you want to share about it?
Mhm. I mean, we definitely covered quite a lot about connections, and anything that I say I kind of think is repetitive. But that being said, I think Connections Academy, for those who are sort of on the line between switching to connections or not, I think that like you're going to have the same or a very similar experience, and a very fulfilling experience switching to an online school platform like Connections. And you're not going to miss out on, especially academic needs. All the academic needs that you'll have will be covered one way or another through Connections. And I think that, definitely if you decide to switch, that you're in good hands. And I personally really enjoyed my time there. And I, achieved everything that I wanted through Connections. So yeah, that's basically where I'll end that.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time so
Of
much.
course.
Like I said, I love hearing about a student's experience. I had fun. If anyone watching is interested or has questions for Connections Academy, you can DM us right here on Instagram at Connections Academy. We will answer your questions. But that's all that I have for you tonight, Nathan. I appreciate your time so much. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Bye.
All right. See you guys. Stay safe, everyone.